It's been 2 days of pretty good focus for us. And I think the players realize that there are a lot of things swirling in the air, and what we're trying to do is not get caught up in that. We're just trying to get caught in the process. And I'm a big believer every day you come to work, you got to get better. I think you folks believe in that in your chosen field of what you do. You have to get better every day. How you deliver a story, how you look at a story, how you come to the conclusion of what can catch the viewer's eye or the reader's mind. I've worked in television. I understand that. Just can't be bland. What catches the person's eye? You know, what are you going to say? What story are you writing that's a little bit different, different spin? I did that for 9 years. I understand how difficult that is for you folks, but that's a part of it. And I just think you try to get better every day. I do that as a person every day. I try to better myself. I try to better players and coaches. And I think for the most part, our guys understand where we're at. We got to win a game. This is real important. It's every week you got to win a game. This one is important. We haven't won 3 in a row. This is a good football team. I know there's the record. You know, people say a record. They have good athletes. They move the ball. They can do some things on defense that discourage you. So we have to be prepared. There's a lot of distractions. Senior day. All these things become part of how do you deal with that. And I think so far, I think our players have focused on football on the field, which is important.
This is your first senior day experience as Coach Carr. What's that like, or what do you anticipate?
I have no idea. I don't know. I have to go through it. And I've gone to a high school game where it was senior day a couple Fridays ago. I couldn't attend my son's senior day. My wife did. He was an athlete at San Diego State. I was coaching football. So it's an important day for the families. The families will be here Saturday. I will address them and thank them for allowing their son to attend this university. Most of these kids I did not recruit. They were here before I got here, but I've gotten to know them. I respect them. I respect what they have to do. And it's hard when you're a senior, when a new coach comes in, because you don't know, exactly what he's thinking or how he's going to do things. And I've been fortunate to garner some relationships with some of them. And I'm going to just thank their parents for the job they did of parenting, because that's a hard job, and I understand that. I have an older son. I have 2 daughters, and parenting's hard. It's very difficult in today's world. And when you become a parent in today's world with young ones, you realize that. It's a different world than what I grew up in. So that's what I'll do this week, and I'll figure it out as they go. They get introduced, and all the other. They kind of told me how to do it, and I'm going, okay. And I've seen it, and there'll be some tears, and there'll be some emotion and all that, and then after that, they're going to kick the ball off, and then we got to play football. Yeah, it's kind of funny. I watched him play football when we were in Florida. I would go to his games. Tony would allow me to, and he had a lot of pressure on him. I mean, you could imagine, I'm on the Buck staff, and you got Sapp, Lynch, Derek Brooks, Ronnie Barber, Keyshawn Johnson. Them guys go to every Friday, went to his games. So they're standing on the sideline. And, he's a wide receiver, and they're like, I'm saying, this guy got so much pressure on him because he was the ball boy on Sunday, And he's a good player, and they had a good team. And, to know that when I went to New York, became the head coach, then he transferred, he went to San Diego State. And so my wife would go to games when she had the opportunity, and she went, obviously, to his game. Reminds me a little bit of me growing up. My dad never saw me play a football game in high school, and neither did my mom. My father worked, 2 or 3 hours away from where we lived, and so he'd come home on Friday, so he couldn't make it to the games. And my mom worked, she was a hostess at a restaurant on an Army base, and so she worked Friday nights, so they never saw me play football. So it was kind of unusual for me to miss my son's senior day, but he understood. But yeah, so my mom didn't want me to play football. My head coach, high school head coach, had to come over to the house and make her sign a letter to say it was okay for me to play football. She's scared to death of football. You know, so it's kind of interesting. You know, life has its circles. Speaking of head coaches, he's actually coming to the game. My head coach and his wife are coming to our game, so that's pretty good.
Coach Manny just said that you, especially for the fifth-year seniors, Jalen and him, that you coming into this program has really been a blessing and that you've taken a lot of pride in it. These two guys in particular tonight, what you think?
Well, yeah, I think, you know, this is the last time that you're ever going to play in the stadium. You know, you're not going to play in here anymore. This is it. Regardless of what happens to us, this is it, last time. And I just think that's an emotional thing for them when they first walked into a stadium, last time you play in it, you know, and I think they don't realize that until you become a senior. You know, life goes really fast. You come in as a freshman and you're like, oh, man, it's all good. And all of a sudden, oh, I'm a senior. You know, yeah, you're a senior. And you watched it. You watched the proceedings before, you know, and it was kind of one of those deals, oh, look at that. And then all of a sudden, now it's your day. How do you handle all that, right? And so that's what you know, it makes you a little nervous because you don't know how guys are going to handle it. You don't want guys to get out of their comfort zone because there's so many things. You got a bunch of family members in, you know, it's just, it becomes hard. And they got to play a football game. So hopefully we can handle all that and get through it and play well. Sure.
Football,
Yeah.
obviously in offense, you guys have really clicked the last couple of weeks, despite playing very talented defenses. What's it going to take for the offense?
The consistency of us completing drives. I think first down is big for us. As for any offense, when you play ahead of the chains, you have a chance to convert third downs, and we've done that the last 2 weeks. We've been pretty good converting third downs. That opens up your offense. It keeps the defense on the field. Then the full display of your offense is shown. Now you can run it, you can throw it. Guys get you know, offense is like anything else. They get confidence once they run more than 3 plays. You can start getting into 6 plays and 7-play drives. You've got the defense on their heels now, you know, and so that's the key. And then we're able to make some big plays. We've had some explosive plays throwing the ball. We've had some explosive plays running the ball. So that kind of ignites us. That gets us going, you know, and I think the last game that we did a pretty good job of, when we scored, we didn't allow a score to take place right away to take the momentum away. You know, and that's kind of football. You know, when you score on offense, you're hoping your defense can go out there and make a stop with a punt. And then all of a sudden your offense gets to go back on there. So you get this momentum, and that's the game of football. It goes in swings. And so we've been pretty good doing that the last couple weeks. They've played well, and hopefully they got to continue to play well. This team can score points. They've got some talented players, so we got to score points. There's no doubt about that.
Coach said your mama was scared of you playing, so what is your love for the game and how did you balance that dynamic?
I grew up, my story is well documented. I grew up a Dallas Cowboy fan when they didn't win any games, and I was a Tom Landry fan. And I loved the way that man coached, his persona. I was fortunate enough to play against the Cowboys. You know, I ended up going to Philadelphia, and after about the first week of practice, I figured out can't be a Cowboy fan anymore, being an Eagle, right? And I can remember the first time I met Tom Landry was actually in an elevator after the game. We had lost to the Cowboys my first year in that stadium, and going down to the buses, elevator door opened up and walks in Tom Landry. And I'm like, whoa. And I was a starter as a rookie, and I looked at him, and I was kind of putting my head down, and I was thinking to myself, that's Tom Landry. And he reached over and he said, hey, he said, you're Herm Edwards, right? I said, yes, sir. He said, you're a good football player. I shook his hand. I went, oh, man. And when the elevator stopped, he got out, and I got out down on the bottom floor, and I was like, I had a grin about this big. And the player said, what'd you smile about? I said, man, Tom Landry said I was a good player. You know, and it's like, whoa, it made my day, you know. And, yeah, so I just love the game of football for some reason. I just was attached to it as a young guy. I watched it and just grew up just loving. I loved all sports, but football was my deal. I played baseball, I played basketball. I was a pretty good athlete growing up, but just loved football. And you know, I had aspirations and dreams of playing in the NFL like all kids do. And when you're young and you have all these dreams and aspirations, you really don't know how difficult it is until you start making that journey and trying to get there. And that's why I look back at it and say, you know, I was very, very fortunate. And I always tell you folks, when I sit here today, I'm humbled because of what the game has done for me and what it's meant to me in my life. And I've always coached it and played it to make sure that I've bettered the game. That's my thinking. Give back to the game what it's given to you. And that's how I look at football, and I always will look at it that way. And speaking of my mom, it's funny. Once she kind of figured it out when I got into college, she never watched me play a college game either. After college, all of a sudden, you know, my mom's a German, you know, she's used to soccer, you know, and she's afraid of all these people jumping on everybody. And then all of a sudden, she became kind of a football fan, right? And boy, it never stopped then. I mean, she would watch football on Sunday, and she would like, what are you guys doing? You know, it's like she's the coach. I said, what happened to this woman? She never even liked football. And it was a joy to watch her go to a Super Bowl for me. That was my joy, to watch my mom obviously watch me play in the Super Bowl. That was a proud moment for me.
And on August 1st.
August 1st.
Started preseason camp.
Yes.
Would it have been conceivable for you to be in contention with the Pac-12 South title with three games remaining, or would that have seemed like a stretch to you at that point?
Well, I think the perception is this for me. I never let other people's perception become my reality. I don't live my life that way. I grew up in a situation where I was taught at a very young age is if you work hard, you can make a life, and it's your life. And you don't let anybody predict what you can do or what you can't do. My mom and dad taught me that. And when I took this job, I was very upfront. I said, hey, you know, we're trying to win the Pac-12 championship. I mean, what am I supposed to tell my team? Well, we're going to win a couple games. I mean, you can't do that. I mean, I'd never think I'd do anything like that. And so I just think, you know, there's a process to it. We're still going through it. I knew that when you hire a staff that basically you have no idea how they coach together. They have no idea who their head coach is. The players have no idea who I am. Two guys on the staff knew who I am, and it's Nate Wainwright and it's Kevin Mawai. Other than that, everybody else is like, okay. And when you start, it's a journey that you travel, and there's a process to it. And you know, once the season starts, you got to try to win football games, and you got to figure out what your team is too. And it's taken some time to figure out what your players can do well. I mean, there's some things that I'd like to do different. But our players are set a certain way, and we're going to do what we can do to help them be successful. You know, you'll see a change a little bit more next year on what we do because we'll have different players. But I just think that you got to give credit to the coaching staff. They deserve the credit, and the players, because they do all the work. I mean, I do my share of work. I'm not saying I don't work, because I do. But they coach them every day. I coach everybody. You know, I don't coach one group. I coach everybody. I mean, I coach everybody in this building. That's my job. And it starts with the coaches, equipment guys, trainers. It doesn't matter. I'm in everybody's ear. I pick my moments. And then the players. And all you can do as a coach is put them in position so they can individually have some success, and then make them understand that the team is the big winner. And you need each other to play well. And I think the last couple weeks, we've kind of found some rhythm. And hopefully we can keep that rhythm up and continue to win games. And this will be a tough game for us. I told our team, this is the toughest game you can play all year. This is a tough one. I've been there before. I've been down this road before. It's just the toughest one you're going to play. And we got to prepare them. And then we're going to walk out here Saturday. And if we leave it on the grass, like I always say, we can live with the result of what happens. Yeah. Yeah.
In the beginning of the season, and you always hear on broadcast, and even when you were at ESPN, I think the body language of the team, in years past, it was something, if there was a bad play, an interception, it's kind of like, you know, the shoulders come down. Do you feel to this point of the season that you've had that effect where if there is a turnover, less to play on defense, that everybody's kind of smiling and like, let's go get the next one?
Well, I think they know who I am. My personality, you know, it's funny because I think because I've been on television and people watch you on television, they think you're this guy that, oh, he's just No, when we compete, I'm pretty much level. You know, that's just who I am, and it's probably, I learned that from the position I played, playing corner. You know, you can't not have peaks and valleys. You can't. You have to be very, very almost comatose. It's like you flatline everything. You're excited inside, but you got to think. And so I'm a thinker. When the game is being played, you know, people think, what is he doing? I'm thinking. I'm thinking of the next series. I'm thinking of the next play. I'm looking at the clock. I'm looking at the situation. There's a lot rattling through my brain. And so I want to stay calm, and I watch my players. I mean, I watch them. And when there's a negative play, I make sure I get to the group the time they come off the field to let them know we'll fix it. It's going to be okay. I hit every group during the game. If you watch closely, I'm everywhere. I'm kind of walking. I'm picking my spots. I go to the bench. I go talk to this guy. And I'm watching guys. I watch their body language. I watch their eyes. And I'm dealing with coaches because I'm on the headset. And coaches go up and down. You know, you'd be surprised what's sitting on that mic now. There's a lot of stuff going on, you know. And so to deal with the guys up there, to deal with the guys on the field, you're looking at situations, the down and distance. Is it fourth down? Are we going to go for it on fourth? I mean, there's so many things going through my mind that I want to make sure that everyone knows that Coach got it. Coach not going to panic. And there's one thing about me, I promise you, I'll never panic. I will not panic. I don't care what the score is. I always feel like we got a chance to win until the clock goes to 0-0, and then I'm blaming the clock because I'll say we just ran out of time. You know. Sometimes you just run out of time, but I always feel like you just compete and you just keep competing until the clock runs out, and then you know, then you got to deal with the consequences of that. Yes, sir. Yeah.
This weekend, there was a ranking that came out at the beginning of the year that said UCLA had the hardest schedule, ASU had the 8th hardest in the FBS. So what are, coming into these adverse situations, what are things that are similarities and differences in the way you guys approach?
I think Chip's excellent football coach. I met him, you know, years ago when he was at Oregon, and then obviously when he got into pro football. I just think that he understood what the undertaking that he was about to take over, and I've heard him say it, and I don't listen to a whole lot, but for some reason I was walking and he was on, and I listened to what he was saying, and on television, I was walking by one of the coaches' rooms, they had TV on, and he was talking about the process of how he's dealing with the process of trying to build a program. And I said, you know, I walked by and I listened to it for about 2 minutes, and I said, he's right. I said, we're all trying to do the same thing. I mean, Kevin's doing it down in Arizona, you know. I mean, this is what you do, and you learn from it. I mean, you learn lessons every time you go to practice, every time you play a game, and you put it up here, and you take notes on it, and you go, okay, how can we improve? And you want the players to improve every day, and they have improved. I mean, you watch them from the beginning to right now. I mean, they're in a lot of games. I mean, they really are. They compete. They played Oregon tough, and they just haven't won enough games yet with that of their liking. But he's playing a lot of young guys, similar to us. He's got 2 quarterbacks going at times, you know. So there's a lot of things going on, but he's kept his composure on who he is too. He hasn't blinked, and he's got. I mean, you're talking about the media in L.A. That's a big media market, you know, and he's got a lot of questions coming at him, and he's handled it the way he's handled it. And I think the players watch their coach how they handle things like that, and they play off the coach. You know, that's what players do. They watch the coach say, "What is it? Is the coach saying the same thing to them that he's saying to me in the meetings?" You know, and that's what he does, and he's truthful. He says, "This is what we're trying to do." I heard him say it. He wants the players to embrace the process. And then eventually, if you continue to do it right and you get the pieces you need, you're going to win. That's what we're trying to do here. It's no different. You know, and every game to me is a new learning experience for me. It's a new team that I've never played in this conference. It's a new coach that I get to compete against in this conference. And it's players that I get to evaluate that we're playing against. That's been the biggest thing for me. Every week, evaluate a team that's in the Pac-12 that you have to compete against. To me, that's invaluable knowledge. I mean invaluable. How they play, who we're playing against, the type of players they have compared to the type of players we have. I don't know this. I'm learning this. You know, and I've coached a long time, but I haven't coached at this level. And I'm learning this. You don't learn it from television. You got to actually coach it. And so I'm enjoying all this. This is a blast for me. I'm like a little kid in a candy store. I mean, I'm learning, man. I'm like, okay, I didn't take this job saying I know everything. I never took this job. I took this job saying whatever I have in my being, I will give back to this university and to these players. That's what I said. And that's just who I am. As far as me getting knowledge, every time I walk through that tunnel and it's a game, I'm going to learn something.
You started out talking about basketball and watching other coaches here.
Yeah.
Your style's a lot different than Coach Herm.
Oh, but me and Bobby laugh about that all the time. Yeah, I love him. I love his emotion. I met Bobby back when I was in Bristol. He came in the studio for something, and I was a big fan of his when he played. And he's an emotional guy, boy. But his team, you know, watching the game, what I like about his team is this. For me, just watching it from afar, when they play defense, that gives them energy. When they play defense. And when there were swings in the game, in my opinion, being just an observer of basketball, when their defense got stops, they had energy. And I like that. I like people that play defense. You know, basketball, everybody wants to shoot. But when people actually play defense and they play without the ball, it's fun to watch. And those guys play that way, you know. And he's got some big guys compared to what he had last year. They got some length now. They got the one guy. What's his name? He looks like a strong safety. He could probably play for me. What's that kid's name? Dork. Yeah, he looked like. We don't have a guy that big. We might get him to try to come over in the spring. So you know, I love it. You know, I love the women's game too. I just think because I have daughters that play. I've always said this: if you want to see the fundamentals of basketball coached and played, go to a women's game. They do it the best. They do it the best. It's not even close to a men's basketball game. It's the epitome of what you learn when you're a little kid, how to play basketball. And women do a phenomenal job of watching, of doing that, orchestrating that. So I love to watch the women as well. So I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan. You know, it's good to be a fan.